Hey my fellow druids, Sire here. I'm super excited for the start of the new season. Yesterday we got some great news for our beloved druid. Tons of interesting buffs and synergies for the pulverize skill. That's why today I bring you a new leveling video. Yup, I have got a pulverize build for you. Finally, we have a solid pulverize build, and it might be the strongest one for druid this season. With our ultimate greasy rage, the rabbit beard aspect, and our new unique, we have got a solid combo for this build. I will be working on this build during the first week of the season, so I can bring you some real gameplay as soon as possible. So I want to share this simple leveling guide for pulverize, so you can get to endgame as fast as possible and crash T4. Unfortunately, I don't have gameplay footage recorded for this build yet. Sorry about it. Let's get into the build. I want to give you a few tips before we dive into the rest of the build. Alright Reds, let's start with the buffs pulverize got, so you can clearly see how strong this build is going to be, and why it's also great for leveling. Pulverize got a base damage buff from 110% to 150%, meaning it will hit harder from the start. When we put the first point into the skill tree, we get Enchant Pulverize. Before Pulverize will trigger overpower every 10 seconds, now it did 30% more damage to enemies and bosses with crowd control. That's a huge change, and it stacks more damage onto our skill. Then, with final upgrade, we get Raging Pulverize. Previously, it gave 75% more overpower damage and stunned enemies for 3 seconds. Now, every 10 seconds, Pulverize guarantees an overpower hit and causes enemies to take 20% more damage for 5 seconds. What does that mean? That 20% extra damage applies to everything, which is better than just 70% more overpowered. So the base of Pulverize is now much stronger, and we will take advantage of those buffs later in endgame with aspects like Rabbit Bear, Rampaging Werbeast, and others. To start, I recommend using any Pulverize aspect you find early, like the Shockwave aspect, which helps a ton with damage and AoE at the beginning. Also, the Ursine Aura aspect is now utility, not offensive, so we can put it the boots or pants. Which is great because it lets us use offensive aspects like Retaliation or Challenges Dev on our gloves later. Having just these two aspects early on already helps a lot with damage. And of course, the full start build is in the planner, link in the description. Another aspect I really recommend is aspect of the Umbral. It helps regenerate more spirit, so the build doesn't feel as slow at the start. As for key spirit boons, these are two. Gift of the Stack, which gives you more spirit and passive regen, and Energize, which helps refill spirit when you deal damage. Affixes like Willpower, Max Life, and Attack Speed are the best for leveling early on. Remember to follow the season questline to unlock erratic powers and gems as soon as possible. It helps with XP, gear, and crafting materials. Overall, this build is super strong early on and is known for having a great start. You shouldn't have any big issues. Let's talk a bit about gear. Keep in mind gear will change throughout the season. This is just the starter gear. As the season progresses, I will optimize it to get the most out of the build. In the early levels, your gear should be a balance between offense and defense. So in items like helm, chest, pants, and boots, look for affixes like Willpower, Max Life, and Armor or All Resistant. On offensive gear, gloves, weapons, rings, and amulet, we want things like Willpower, Max Life, Attack Speed, Crit Chance, or ranks to Pulverize. Let's go one by one. Helm, use Might aspect for 20% damage reduction, super useful. Chest, use Quicksand aspect to apply CC, which helps trigger our Enchant Pulverize bonus. For gloves, use Retaliation, since Ursine Aura is now utility and can go in boots or pants. In the pants, use Ballistic aspect for +2 to air skill, helps a lot with damage early on. In the boots, if Metamorphosis show up there, skip it, use Ursine Aura instead. The weapon Shockwave aspect is essential and should be one of the first you imprint. More damage and AoE for Pulverize. In the amulet, Challenges Dev is good enough for level. Ring 1, aspect of the Umbral to help with spirit generation. Pulverize burns a lot of spirit. and the Ring 2 Natural Balance, which activates with Storm Strike and boosts Pulverize damage. Like I said, this is your early gear, including the first Paragon levels. The final build will use different aspects, the new weapon and Grizzly Rage as the ultimate. This part is simple, but here are the best spirit boons for early leveling. Gift of the Stack, boost spirit and regen. Iron Feather, more max life. Avian Wrath, more critical strike damage. Energize, which gives you a chance to restore spirit when dealing damage. And Obsidian Slams, guarantees overpowered hits more often. Alright guys, here is how we start. Basic skill is Storm Strike, applies vulnerable for 3 seconds. Our core skill is Pulverize, 5 points in it, and we take Raging Pulverize. For defensive, Earthen Bulwark gives us Unstoppable and Fortify. Debilitating Roar reduces nervy enemy damage by 40%, fortifies us, and boosts damage by 25%, one of our best defensive skills. Poison Creeper is great early on. It poisons enemies and lets us challenge death to our advantage. The passive provocation was reworked. Now it triggers Overpower every 10 seconds and increases your damage by 50%. Huge buff. The rest of the skills and passive are in the planner. We will also use Petrify early on to boost crit damage and apply CC. I'm not sure how the progression will work in the season questline, but here are the powers I think will help the most early on. Catalyst, we are using Disintegrate with Corrosive Vapor Infusion. Keeps enemies constantly poisoned and adds big damage. For Arcana, Bloody Charm, execute enemies. Sapping Cracks applies vulnerable for 8 seconds, and Fracture Core disables enemies' aura. These are the most important gems early on, and probably into the endgame too. Idol from Below boosts core stat and max life. Scornful Light increases elemental damage. Illuminate Eye reduces cooldown on your catalyst. Alright Reeds, I hope this video helps guide you to endgame. This might just be the strongest Reed build this season. There are a lot of variants you can try, like Petrify plus Bestial Rampage plus Rotting Lightbringer, or Grizzly Rage plus Bestial Rampage plus Rotting Lightbringer. But without a doubt, the most powerful and solid version will use Rabbit Bear, Grizzly Rage, and the new unique. I think Pit 100 is totally stable with the new Pulverize attack. Can't wait to test it and bring you the final version on the channel. There are also some interesting buffs for Stormclaw builds, which are still very popular, but I don't think they will be stronger than this one. Druid definitely got some great upgrades and will be more fun to play this season. If you like the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. That helps the channel grow and lets me bring even more build content in the future. See you in Sanctuary.